everyone. Welcome to our webinar about the H1 release 2022. From a technical perspective, we're going to go through the main highlights of this release from SAP SuccessFactors. My name is Jorge Arribas. I'm the Center of Excellence lead for technical and solution architecture for Rizing. And with me, I've got Shyam, who will be introducing himself.
Thank you, Jorge. I'm Shyam. I've been working with Rizing in the integration capacity as an integration lead, but more importantly, been working on SuccessFactors integrations along with CPI and with PIPO as the main middlewares. And now is the time to now enrich ourselves with the 2022 H1 release.
Thanks, Shyam. So let's start with the, I guess, one of the main key ones that have been on the radar for a few some time. This is about the deprecation of the HTTP basic authentication for APIs. Probably you remember back in 2020, November, there was an announcement made by SAP SuccessFactors in terms of sunsetting the HTTP basic authentication for API calls, including both OData and SF APIs. At that point, SuccessFactors realized that they needed to have a more secure authentication method, and they started to release this migration plan into Auth 2.0, which basically is a very robust authentication approach. Shyam, what do you think about this? Do you see this, in your day-to-day activities with the customers? Are they reaching out? Are they interested in knowing more about what this will impact to them?
Yes. Thank you, Jorge. And I think the biggest shift in the last couple of years with the ways of working is the increase and the need for security. So the moment the security and the aspects of security come in, I think the basic authentication mechanism is no more that foolproof and that secure. And hence, in that direction, SAP has set out the usage of the OAuth authentication mechanism itself. Now, what it is going to do is to take away all the problems of using a user ID, a password, going in and ensuring that the password doesn't expire. All the operational aspects of maintaining a user ID and a password have been removed. Now it is about establishing yourself with a generic key, and SuccessFactors will honor that key that it generates. And based on that, it's the authentication mechanism now which is being pushed towards OAuth. So yes, it's a great way forward. Kudos to SAP. I'm more than happy. Now is the time then to go to our customers and talk to them about this.
That's right. I was going to say that because it's been pushed by a year. So that hopefully will give our customers and customers out there to prepare more thoroughly in terms of what is really needed to happen in their instances, their environment, and undertaking this, I think, very intense exercise to understand what integrations are impacted, what methods are not impacted, and if they need to go and do a full review on what they have at the moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think from an integration perspective, Jorge, you and I have a lot more work to do.
That's right. It's always good to have work. What else do we have, Shyam?
I think the other one that I would like to then highlight is a very important feature which has come up, which is the API rate limiting in the SAP SuccessFactors HXM suite. Now, in the past, Jorge, I'm currently working with a customer where they're doing the same thing. They're making these calls into SuccessFactors. They don't have CPI in the middle. So they don't know how to really get the users, as in the employee data, whether it be in a large bulk, whether it be smaller pages, pagination. They don't have this in mind. And SAP also did not have this way forward. And I'm very happy to see that a new feature has now been extended, wherein you can now limit the number of calls that you make into the SuccessFactors suite. In other words, it has been now been limited to just even the count has been limited. Okay, yes, sorry. You will get a status code of 429 for too many requests, and you will also get a retry after header. Now, the pain point is, in the past, we did not have this. And every time you would have to trigger, the interface again But in this case, at least you're getting the headers back. And it will be gradually applied to the OData APIs after the second release of 2022. And in the first release of 2023, it will be completely in. So which means the full feature will be functional in production completely by the first half of 2023. But now in 2022, in the first half, this is the time to go and start looking at what sort of limiting capacities do the APIs now have.
That's right, Shyam. And I think the key message again is you need to do a lot of prep internally to understand whether you're going to have a number of scenarios where this rate limiting will be applicable to yourself. So if you are having a very intense hard volume calls into SuccessFactors, let's say more than 40 requests per second using all data APIs, you'll need to have some measures in place to potentially review the integration approach or to review how many calls are being made by different integration points, because you'll be restricted and you'll start to see some errors coming out of those connections. So it is important again to go in full suite, review all your integrations, and make sure that you're not going to be impacted by this function going forward. Another interesting one, Shyam, that I was a little bit surprised to see, but I think it will make sense if SAP SuccessFactors has decided to deprecate, is the deprecation of these third-party standard integration packages. Like, we've been massively used in Microsoft Active Directory in different versions, standard, prepackaged, custom package, user provisioning, but there are others as well, like this benefits administration on Hewitt for the core benefits module on Boomi, or the IBM Connexa in CPI or Integration Suite. So it is interesting that SAP has made a call to sunset these prepackages and has a spread that the reason because they've gone this far is because there is very low usage, which I guess I kind of understand why they've kind of gone into this direction, because what we have been exploring with our customers, especially in the AD world, is there are better ways these days that are basically removing this middleware requirement and have a more point-to-point kind of integration between Microsoft Azure and Employee Central for the user provisioning. I think that's been the trend that we've seen lately, right, Shyam?
Yes, absolutely, Jorge. And I think a man who feels the pain will always get the gain. So yes, right. In our past project experience, it has been such a pain to go through the AD interfaces just to make sure that the customer's requirements are met in totality. Now, I'm very happy to see, in a certain way, the deprecation of this. Of course, it's not the best thing, but you also see that the advent of the other APIs, that is the standard Microsoft AD connectors or other usage solutions, are now in place. So yes, it's a welcome sign for me, which means that we are getting into more complex integrations elsewhere, which we've already experienced. I'm very happy with this. Now, yeah, let's move this forward. That's
and actually this one is being deprecated this November. So if you are a customer using some of these prepackaged integrations, you need to start looking at this, because from November this year, they will be deleted. So it's important to keep that in mind.
Correct.
All right. What else do we have? I think there are a number of enhancements to do with the old data APIs that I think they're going to facilitate our work in terms of new integrations or existing integrations. Right,
Yes.
What have we found in this release?
If you look at the most commonly used APIs that we play with from a middleware or from an integration perspective, that would be the cost center, and that would be the company. So when you look at these two foundation objects, SAP has come out with a new property in these APIs. Basically, what they have done is the entity OID is required as a unique identifier, right? So in other words, this is nothing else but a 32-bit UID that will be generated. And that 32-bit UID was not available before in the cost center and the company objects. So what it has really helped you to do is to identify and go through a very unique object on your end and this is what it is going to be used for. I also think it's a welcome change, because these two APIs, we use it in every project, in every use case. And I think any change to these two APIs is a welcome sign. What do you think, Jorge?
I agree. I think at the end of the day, it's trying to facilitate our work when we're building, designing integrations. And I guess the target is to reduce the number of calls. So if we can achieve that with less number of calls, the better, because that's going to remove complexity and get all the information that you need in one call, as opposed to be making, subsequent calls and then enriching your calls with additional data. So I think it's a positive, and I think that's probably what would be seen in the last releases and also in this release, is some of the entities are getting updated, more attributes are coming part of those entity calls, and with one objective, which is facilitate the integration work. So yeah, I think it's a very positive way forward. I think one of that really got interested, at least from my side, is this ability to query the primary assignment for employees in cases where we've got multiple jobs happening, concurrent employment, global assignments, those situations where are more complex to navigate through. And I think in the past, what we had to do, or what we have experienced, is we had to, I guess, make up our logic to identify whether what we were querying was the primary assignment, secondary assignment, or even a third assignment. And I think with this enhancement, it is very straightforward. All we have to do is use the new property that is being delivered as part of the entity user API, and just make a call with the is primary assignment yes or no, which will give you a straight answer instead of thinking through what logic will be making sense for the implementation of that integration flow. So I think it's another one that I also wanted to highlight. It's for those complex customers with this enhanced functionality in Employee Central. I think it's a bit of a relief.
Correct. Thank you, Jorge. And to extend the same point, I think SAP has also come up with a release for a few more APIs. For example, the business unit, company, cost center, department, division, job code, job function, pay groups. Now, what SAP is trying to do, and the way I get it now, Jorge, is that SAP is trying to align and bring about all the APIs as a standard common, whether it be MDFs or non-MDFs. The idea is to bring all of them into a common platform, make them all look the same, so that the user who's consuming it now is going to see a sense of uniformity. Now, this particular release is very important. This point is very important because it might not be a very big one, but what it has done is it has built in a feature to basically get the property called the MDF Systems Record ID. Now, MDF System Record ID was not available in all the APIs, but now this property is going to be available in all the APIs. So basically, the System Record ID can now be queried and now can be used after this. And the System Record ID is a unique identifier that basically generates the identifiers for all these APIs. So yes, I think I'm very happy with that as well. It might look to be a very small one, might not be used in a business case, but nevertheless, it's a way to uniform all the APIs. What do you think about that, Jorge?
I agree. I think it comes down to standardizing the calls and make sure that most of the attributes are retrieved and are easy to use, rather than, again, having to make multiple calls and create custom logic to get to the same point, or to fetch the same information that you're trying to get. So I think it's going into the right direction. So I conclude with, I guess, one of the last but not least, is the enhancement done to the Compound Employee API. Again, following the same direction, I think SAP SuccessFactors is trying to simplify how integrations are built, try to minimize the number of calls. And in this occasion, with the enhancement done, you now can retrieve the user information account as part of the employee Compound API, as opposed to have multiple calls and then enrich your calls. So it's, again, going into the same direction, enhance, add more attributes to those old data entities, or in this case, the employee Compound API, to facilitate our lives.
Correct. And thank you so much, Jorge. And I'd like to also highlight a very important feature now, which is the enhanced OData employment, which is now supporting navigation to the onboarding info. You know,
okay.
In the past, I have had many issues where I need to get the onboarding info and I need to get the user info, the employee info, but then I really didn't have a real way of matching this unless I make these separate calls. Now, in this particular release, this gap has now been fixed in a large extent, which means that you can navigate from the OData API EMP employment all the way into onboarding info and you can complete activities that precede the onboarding info API. So the merging of these two APIs is very important, which means now SAP has truly started to bring together the BizX of EC and the other tools that we have, trying to bring them into a common platform again, so that the source of entry into getting the data from the API will be the same, but you will get multiple varied subsets of data for every operation that you use. So I'm very happy with that. What do you make of that, Jorge?
Yeah, no, I think it's very positive to see that some of these entities, for instance, the one that you're talking about, the employment, includes navigation objects to additional data that otherwise you will have to make another call and then enrich with additional data. So I think it's positive to see that you now can access more data with just using minimal number of calls. So definitely very positive in that regard. So I think that's probably what we wanted to highlight to all our viewers. I think in summary, and I think this is a personal opinion, overall, looking at all the releases notes for this release H1 2022, I think the message from us is the right time to spend some time internally, review what you have as a customer in your technical space, any integrations that you're doing using SAP pre-packages, any integrations that you're using middleware like CPI, Boomi, or others, and inclusive of any third-party integrations that you may be doing or you may have built in the past. I think it's a good exercise to review what you have with this mindset of, hey, there is some deprecations coming, there's some enhancement that may break some of your integrations, like the rate limiting. It's a good time as a solution architect, technical architects, integration guys to do a full intense review and come up with a plan of attack, because there will be some heavy work to do in most of the customers. What's your take, Shyam, on this?
I think it's a very healthy sign. You know how we all keep complaining about the things that are missing in the middleware, the things that are missing in functionalities. I think SAP has heard this. And I'm very pleased to say that integration is the way to go for SAP as well within the CPI space. And SAP is trying its best to give you the best experience of an API, or the best experience of what the APIs can offer. So it's a very positive sign. And to add to that, Jorge, I'm just requesting anyone who's watching this video, if you have any questions, any doubts, any changes that you want to make, and if you think that you would like us to be involved with you to help you make these changes, we can work with you. As Rizing, the way I look at it working here, we are a very vibrant, very energetic company, which really means that we are happy to listen to our customers, and we are happy to engage our customers no matter how small or how big it is. So from that point of view, customers are our key, our strengths. Come to us. We are more than happy to hear your thoughts, good or bad, and let's take it from there. Jorge.
Sounds perfect. So that's been all for today. Thanks for attending and watching this webinar about the H1 release 2022. And stay tuned for more. And if you need any help or any guidance, just please reach out, and we'll be more than happy to help you.